The truth didn't come out during a fight. It didn't explode across the dinner table or arrive wrapped in shouting. It surfaced quietly, the way betrayals inside families always do, when you finally notice how comfortable everyone is without you being heard. I was standing in my parents' living room, the same room where every major decision in my life had been discussed without my input, when I realized something that changed me forever. They weren't misunderstanding me. They weren't confused about who I was. They had simply decided who mattered more. And for the first time, I stopped trying to earn a place I was never meant to have. My name is Evelyn Carter. I was 33 years old when this story truly began, living in a quiet suburb outside Chicago, working a stable but unglamorous job in corporate compliance, and carrying a reputation inside my family that had very little to do with who I actually was. On paper, my life looked simple. No flashy career title, no dramatic announcements, no social media milestones that invited applause. What my family never understood was that simplicity was intentional. I built stability because I had learned early that chaos was rewarded in my house, while consistency was ignored. And I was very good at being consistent. The Carter family was respected in our community. At least that's how it looked from the outside. My father, Richard Carter, had built a successful real estate business over 3 decades. He valued ambition that could be measured publicly, properties bought, deals closed, names remembered. My mother, Susan, managed the household and social calendar with quiet efficiency, smoothing tensions without ever challenging authority. Then there was my younger brother, Daniel. Daniel was the family's future in their eyes, charismatic, risk-taking, always chasing something bigger. Every family gathering followed the same rhythm. Daniel talked, everyone listened. Mistakes were reframed as learning experiences. When I spoke, conversations drifted. Not intentionally cruel, just practiced indifference. I became the one who didn't need attention. I learned early that pushing back only made things worse. If I questioned a decision, I was overthinking. If I expressed concern, I was being negative. If I succeeded quietly, it was expected. So I adapted. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped correcting assumptions. I let my parents believe I was simply content with less. What they didn't realize was that I wasn't passive. I was observing. And observation is dangerous when people assume silence means agreement. While Daniel jumped from one venture to another, I became the person who fixed problems no one wanted to acknowledge. Contracts reviewed quietly, compliance issues resolved before they became lawsuits, paperwork cleaned up so deals could go through without friction. At first, I helped because it felt natural, later because it was expected, eventually because it was invisible. I wasn't thanked when things went right. I was only noticed when something almost went wrong. That was my place. The shift didn't happen all at once. It came through small exclusions, decisions made before I was informed, family meetings scheduled without checking my availability. Then came the moment that forced clarity. My parents announced they were restructuring parts of the business to streamline leadership. Daniel would be stepping into a more central role. I was told this casually, as if it had no impact on me. They said it would free me from responsibility. They said it like it was kindness. No one asked what I thought. That evening, we sat around the dining table like we always had. Same chairs, same lighting, same assumption that I would adapt. My father spoke confidently about the future. My mother nodded along. Daniel smiled like someone already rehearsing success. And I realized something with absolute certainty. They didn't need my agreement. They needed my absence. I wasn't being pushed out because I lacked value. I was being removed because my presence complicated their narrative. I noticed risks they didn't want to see. I asked questions that slowed momentum. I made things stable instead of impressive. And stability doesn't look like leadership to people addicted to visibility. So when they reassigned responsibilities, I didn't protest. I thanked them. That confused them. That night, alone in my apartment, I didn't cry. I reviewed documents. I reread agreements. I looked at structures I had helped build quietly over the years. I noticed clauses no one else remembered, safeguards signed without scrutiny, contingencies designed for moments exactly like this. I didn't change anything. I simply stopped protecting them from consequences they didn't believe applied to them. After I stepped away, nothing exploded. That was the strange part. No emergency calls, no urgent meetings, no acknowledgement that anything had changed. From the outside, it probably looked like progress. Daniel posted confidently online about growth and new direction. My parents attended events with relaxed smiles, relieved that leadership now looked decisive and uncomplicated. And I watched from a distance as something subtle began to shift. Systems don't fail loudly at first, they drift. The first issue appeared in a place no one expected: a minor compliance delay, a document submitted late, a permit approval that stalled for unusual reasons. Daniel brushed it off. Everyone did. He blamed the market, the city, timing. No one considered structure because structure had always been my quiet responsibility. I noticed the gap immediately, and I did nothing. People assume restraint is bitterness. It isn't. Restraint is understanding when help becomes interference. For years, I had smoothed over problems before they reached the surface. I had explained risks privately so others could take credit publicly. This time, I let reality unfold without editing, not out of revenge, out of clarity. Within weeks, delays stacked. Nothing catastrophic, just inconvenient. Payments processed slower, contracts took longer to finalize, emails required follow-ups. Daniel compensated the only way he knew how. He pushed harder, more deals, more visibility, more pressure. Pressure doesn't fix foundations, it exposes them. Years earlier, during one of my father's aggressive expansion phases, I had insisted on safeguards, legal frameworks, risk thresholds, operational contingencies. Nothing dramatic, just boring protections designed to activate if leadership decisions drifted outside sustainable limits. They signed everything without reading closely, because I had always handled details. Details are where accountability lives. The first real consequence wasn't public. It came through an external review, a routine audit requested by a partner who noticed inconsistencies Daniel couldn't explain clearly. Audits don't care about confidence. They don't care about charisma. They care about alignment, and alignment was slipping. My father called me for the first time in weeks. Not urgently, not apologetically, casually. He asked if I had noticed anything unusual. I told him no. That was true. Nothing unusual was happening. What was happening was exactly what the systems were designed to reveal. Daniel didn't ask for help. He asked for validation. He wanted reassurance that delays were normal, that friction was temporary, that everything was still under control. I gave him none. Silence doesn't argue, it waits. Banks notice patterns before families do. Partners notice instability before parents admit it. What had been minor delays became questions. What had been market conditions became concerns. The audit deepened, and with it, the paper trail grew longer than Daniel's explanations. The first time my name reappeared wasn't emotional, it was procedural. A reference in a document, a signature on a framework, a clause that required authorization only I could provide. I hadn't reinserted myself, the system had. For the first time, my parents stopped defending. They listened, not to me, to evidence. They didn't confront Daniel immediately, they watched, and watching did what arguing never could. This wasn't victory, it was exposure. I didn't feel satisfaction, I felt alignment. For the first time, responsibility and authority were reconnecting naturally, without negotiation or emotion. That kind of power doesn't announce itself, it settles. Conversations changed tone. My mother stopped measuring success by comparison. My father stopped assuming outcomes without asking. Daniel stopped performing confidence and started managing consequences. No one asked me to just help out. They asked carefully and waited. They believed removing me simplified decisions. What it did was remove complexity they never managed themselves. Support systems are invisible until they're gone, and once exposed, they can't be unseen. I wasn't replaced. I wasn't punished. I wasn't sidelined. I was underestimated, and that is the most expensive mistake people make. Some families confuse control with care. They reward loud confidence and overlook quiet competence, until one day the quiet one steps back and the structure collapses on its own, not out of revenge, out of reality.